Welcome back to the Plone Podcast, our interview series talking to well-known long-term Plonistas to find out what they've been doing, what they're up to, and where they come from. And today I have Franco Pellegrini, who's joining us from Cordoba in Argentina. And Franco has been a developer doing Plone for quite a long time. He's somebody who I eventually met in person at the San Francisco conference in 2011.
I believe so, yeah.
And I'll probably tell a story about that again. It's a good story. Anyway, thanks, Franco.
All right. Thank you, Kim, for inviting me. It's really an honor. Thank you for having me.
Well, I don't know if it's an honor. It's more like, thanks, you've been voluntold. Which is the whole thing about the Plone community, right?
That's pretty much how we work, yeah.
Yep. And
that's how I ended up in the framework team. Actually, I was asked back in I believe it was the Arnhem's conference 2012 by Liz. We were in a bar, and we, I don't know how many people, and I believe the reason was that she wanted to get out of it, and she was like,
this is Liz? Liz?
Yeah, Liz Lady. Okay. Yeah. And she went like, yeah, you should come on board and be with us. And that was how I got in.
Yeah, Liz is notorious. Actually, there are so many stories about Liz.
Yeah.
It's almost worth a podcast on its own. Just get people to join and share their stories about Liz, or in fact, probably reach out to Liz and see if she wants to join our series here. But yeah, so you were in Arnhem. That was 2012, and that was the conference. That was one of the conferences I did not make it to, and I remember there are stories about the barge. Did you stay on the barge?
No. On Arnhem, I stayed. I believe I stayed with Erico. And I think it was Hector Velarde, and I don't remember who else were for. And we were renting an Airbnb in the center of Arnhem, but we were at the boat like a lot of times. That was where the main events were happening.
The non-conference events, and I guess the social life.
The best part, one of the best parts of Plone Conference.
Now, I've heard a slightly different take on that from Nathan Van Gien, because apparently he was staying on the barge and he was trying to sleep.
Yeah,
that didn't work so well.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. Plone has a reputation.
Yeah.
What is the saying? Is that Plone is a drinking community that the side effect is the software?
That's actually one of Liz's phrases, I believe, in one of her presentations, that Plone is how was it? A drinking community with a software problem, or something like that.
Not bad. So you were asked to join the framework team. And so for anybody who doesn't know what the framework team does, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, basically we're a bunch of people that receive the different PLIPs or Plone improvement proposals and decide whether they should get into the core or not. And it's usually, I don't remember the exact number, but we're around, I don't know, between 7 and 12 people, depending on the day. And we have a spreadsheet with all the different new features proposed, and we have some deliberation We speak about the implications, what are the risks, who's going to take care of it and review it and make it go forward. And we decide if it is something that we want in the core or not.
That's pretty neat, because in other software projects, you hear stories that maybe one person gets to make that decision. And that's quite different for Plone. So it's yet another way that Plone is a very decentralized, very, I guess, egalitarian project.
Yeah. And usually we as a framework team, we don't take part in the implementation. We just decide whether if it is getting into or not. It's not that we cannot do it. It's that anyone can come, can submit a plip and say, I want to put this into the core, and we just limit to deciding whether we want it or not, and then whoever proposed it should implement it properly, following best practices, tests, and all that. And eventually, when the implementation is done and completed, one of the persons appointed as reviewer reviews it and decides if it is ready to be approved or not, and it is part of the core.
Now, that's a process that I remember running into, because this is quite early on when I had been using Plone at the university here in Oshkosh, but hadn't fully understood all the ways that the teams worked. And I remember making a proposal and then, having somebody say, well, that's nice, but who's going to implement it? And I go, what? I'm just making the proposal. Someone else can implement it, right? And then I was told, no. The way it works is you're supposed to come with the implementation. Well, you propose it, but you also are ready to present the implementation. And I was going like, So the idea is that if you can't implement it yourself, you have to find somebody who can do it for you.
Right. Yeah, because that's pretty much how open source works. You cannot go into Firefox or whatever example and go, hey, I want this feature into the software, and expect someone else to go ahead and implement it. Maybe if you are proposing something that is like nobody thought about it, or is something that maybe someone else goes like, oh yeah, that would be nice. I will be up for implementing that. Whoever wants to do it goes and does it. Even it could be someone from the framework team. But yeah, it's something that it's volunteer work. So
okay, so when I think about your example of, say, somebody makes a feature request on Firefox, there's a whole staff of developers who are paid to work on behalf of the project, the open source Firefox. But that's not at all the case with Plone. We don't have a central organization or company that funds the development of Plone. That is really quite different. If you think of WordPress or you think of Drupal, there's a lot of money behind those companies, and they're flooded with a lot of money, so they can do that, but we can't.
I don't think if it is something that we cannot do. I think it's something that we don't want to do. If you as a company pay for a feature, maybe you are expecting maybe you're expecting something different from what it happens on open source. And that usually, I see that from time to time when people go and, oh, come on, you cannot do this with Plone. And I'm like, go ahead and implement it. It's, you cannot expect to have every single feature that you imagine already there, made by someone else. So also, if a company, I think I am trying to think as a company owner, which I am not. But if I would put a lot of money into some feature, and then for some reason down the line, developers don't want to maintain it anymore, I'll be like, come on, I paid for this. It has to be there forever. It's I don't know how easy it is to manage that. The way it is right now, it's completely volunteer. So if a company, say 6 Feet Up, desires a feature, then they know that they need to implement it and possibly maintain it. Unless it is something like really amazing that a lot of people gets on board, and you have a lot of people just doing it voluntarily, you will have to maintain it.
Would that be true? Say a feature gets into Plone Core.
Oh no! If it is, that's one of the reasons why the different blips go into this debate is whether we as a community want to maintain it.
Right.
And yeah.
So it's acceptance of it's you're the gatekeepers then for deciding whether or not to accept a new feature, but with that feature comes essentially technical debt. You're growing the technical asset size of Plone, but you're also causing accepting that this maintenance will be required going forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless at some point in the future, for some reason, there's consensus that feature that was included is no longer needed, or it has gone for a lot of time without anyone using it or caring about it, and we may implement a blip that removes that feature.
Right.
So, yeah.
What would be a feature that you can remember that was removed like that?
I cannot think of a specific feature, but I can think, for instance, when the new resource registry was implemented, the old JavaScript tooling and the way that all of that was taken care of was removed. Then the quick installer, I remember something that Moritz. But yeah, I cannot remember a specific feature like.
Okay, I got one for you. That was a trick question.
Okay.
There's one.
Right.
There's one that really bothers me, and I think a lot of other people would say, "Man, you shouldn't have removed that one." Undo, man. Undo. Yes, undo. Like you
but
delete.
It's there.
Well, not really. It's been taken out of the Plone UI.
You mean the undo for the ZMI for SOAP?
No, I mean the undo that was in the Plone actions. It was one of the things where you could, if you were a site manager, you were a manager or a site administrator, you could see an action in your menu for undoing transactions. So it was in a way exposing the ZOAP undo, but it was right in the Plone UI. And I remember it was like Plone 3 or something. I'm old. It was like Plone 3 was removed out.
That was before my time in the
field. Oh, so you're not going to accept responsibility for that. Okay.
Actually, I didn't know that was there, to be honest.
Oh, all right. Well, see, okay. I should pick on Nathan for that.
There's that made me remember. It was with the name went away. Andy Lib. We were in one of the sprints in the Emerald sprint, and we had this thing we did. We went with the fist and up saying Nathan, because we were looking at some code, really, really old code. And maybe if he's watching this, he will remember. That was funny.
That was the Emerald sprint. That was on the West Coast. That was Seattle. Right? You left from Seattle.
I went to 2 Emerald sprints. One of them, I don't remember if it was the first one or the other. I stayed with Fulvio in his boat. I spent the night with him in his boat. He had a huge boat, He had 2 bedrooms, a living room, small kitchen, a bathroom, all inside the boat. It was quite amazing. And then we took the boat and went to the sprint in the boat. It was awesome. It was really, really
That's
awesome.
nice. That's right. During the Plone conference in December, you showed some photos of that trip. And I remember, there was like Fulvio in his heavy weather gear, and you were sailing out of the port of Seattle. That looked like a lot of fun.
That was awesome. A bit scary because I never went into a boat before. And when you go with the sails and you have some wind, the boat just goes like on the side. And I didn't know it, and I didn't expect it. I was like, oh, whoa, whoa. Until I realized that that's how it's supposed to be. And I relaxed. We weren't sinking or anything.
I'm just going to go back to where you are now in Cordoba, which is right in the middle of Argentina. So no big bodies of water near you, which explains how you haven't sailed.
Actually, we do have big bodies of water. We have a bunch of lakes, like in a 100-kilometer radius from me. There are 3 major lakes. Like people go and sail there. So I could do it if I wanted. And we have like in the northwest of the province, we have the actual name of it is like Small Sea. It's a big natural lake of actually salt water, and it's huge. It's really huge.
Salt water, really?
Yeah. And it's one of the saltiest places. There's a big hotel that used to be, these therapies that they go with the mud and stuff like that. Yeah.
Did you make it to one of those sauna sprints?
I don't think so.
It's probably in the last 4 or 5 years.
I did go into Finland once to visit Mikko, and he introduced me to the sauna, but I never did a sauna sprint.
Yeah, Mikko came up in conversation over the Plone conference, right? Because I guess Bitcoin was doing a little better.
Yeah, he was he gave a talk about how to hire people, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it was Matt Hamilton, had gotten a Bitcoin from or through me, had purchased Bitcoin because of Mikko's recommendation.
I did.
And it was you.
Oh, I don't know if the what you're talking about was of me, but I did back in 2000. When was the Brazil conference?
2013.
2013. We were at the hostel with Mikko, and I remember he talked to me on that. I remember it was $89, and I bought it like, okay, I would buy one, and today I'm like, I always remember that day. I'm not a visionary person, but if I have seen, like at the moment, I thought, who's going to use this? No one's going to use it, and if it actually starts to have some traction, the government will just kill it. And I couldn't be more wrong about that.
Wow. Yeah, because I saw a headline that it's gone up even higher.
Yeah,
because major corporations. Now that you're telling me a little bit more about Cordoba, and I'm sorry, I don't really know very much about it. It's one of those secrets of, everyone knows about Buenos Aires, but outside of Buenos Aires, it's embarrassing. It reminds me of the story of how in China there are so many cities of populations of 10 million,
right,
that nobody outside China knows. And I feel bad. Yeah. So the more you tell me about Cordoba, the more I'm wondering, like, why haven't you organized a Plone event in your hometown?
Well, so I started doing Plone in a small company here that was run by Roberto Allende. Do you remember him?
Yes.
And he used to be more active in that sense, and he actually did do some events down here. Plone Symposium, I remember. Actually, Steve McMahon was here on one of those events. Erico, one of the photos I shared in the Plone conference, I was Steve, Roberto, and Erico. I think that was from 2010 or 2009, somewhere in there. But yeah, there were some events. The problem is that it's an issue of money, actually, because it is super expensive to get here, and it's super expensive to move inside the country. It's not that common to move by plane, so plane tickets are super expensive. There are not many options for renting a car when you reach the destination. So traveling inside the country is complicated for foreigners, most because the language. Not a lot of people speak English, so it's expensive, it's hard, and yeah, it's hard to convince someone to come to a 3-day sprint and having to spend, I don't know, $1,500 just to get here.
You'd be surprised by how many people would take you up on that. You'd have to give them some lead time. Like, you just say, a year from now, we're going to do this. Start thinking about it. And here's how you can do travel arrangements. And I think people would go. I would be on for that. On the framework team, one of the things that's changed recently, I was reminded of this, is that it used to be, as you said, that when somebody proposed an improvement to Plone, they were also expected to come with at least the plan for the implementation. Otherwise, the proposal would not get approved. Mm-hmm. But I think, was it 2 years ago or a year ago, the framework team changed its process so that it would accept Plone improvement proposals, even though the person making the proposal wouldn't necessarily have the implementation?
Yeah, I mean, the proposal is accepted if it makes sense. But what I meant, maybe I misspoke, but what I meant is that it is expected to someone to go and do it, and not like you propose something and then the Plone developers, the core developers, have to go and implement it.
Right.
I meant that someone has to implement it on a volunteer basis. It's what I tried to say is that it's not a case where someone has a good idea and goes, yeah, Plone should have this, and then developers from the Plone community are assigned somehow and do it and have to do it. Even the person that proposes the plip doesn't need to be a developer. He can say, I have a good idea, and then anyone can do the implementation. That's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that because I have at least one proposal that was accepted. That's not the undo, but it's the recycle bin or the trash bin. Yes, which I still, but anyone listening here, we still have this plip that we need to implement for Plone, which is to have the ability for users to delete their own stuff, but also undelete their own stuff, which would go a long way towards addressing the fact that undo is, yes, it's available inside Zope, but it's not something that can be completely easily explained to regular users, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, you cannot rely on it like going. And also, the editor or the site administrator will have to understand the concept of transactions to the database, and it's not quite the same as saying, oh, I deleted this file by error 15 days ago. I just want that file back. I had to implement that functionality, by the way, for a customer, and I used a workflow state. so that the object that is deleted is not actually deleted, but it's on a new state that is deleted, and it's because it's on a new state, you can manage the permissions, the visibility to anonymous people, and so on. And then an administrator could go and undo it, and by undo it, it simply changes the workflow state. So it shouldn't be a really hard thing to implement.
Yeah. It's nice of you to volunteer for that too. I just heard that. I heard you. Yeah, maybe I was just giving
suggestions. I was just giving suggestions for whoever wants to.
Right. I have to be careful because I can't twist your arm too much, because then no one will want to be interviewed.
Right. Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so Franco, tell me, before, how did you encounter Plone? How did you even get involved in Plone?
Well, when I was back in college, I started college in 2004, and about 2 years in, I got I received an email of a company looking for people, for developers. And I already did 2 years in college, so I knew a bit. And actually, I had some programming experience back from high school, and so I went to this company that was the Mentes, run by Roberto and Emmanuel, and they took me in, and this was 2006. And I started working, and they put me in front of a computer in a chair and said, "This is the CMI. Welcome." and really, I didn't understand anything. Why? I was used to working with native applications, with C programming and some Python scripting, but I didn't understand SOAP and how all this web interface, how all of this was connected. This was back in Plone 2.5. But yeah, I think I spent, I don't remember, maybe a month playing with it, touching here, touching there, breaking this, breaking that. And I eventually started understanding how the different things worked. I, of course, had the different Plone developer books back then. The Martin Aspelli, I think, was one of those. David Glick, I think, also had a book. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. And I started learning it. That was 2006. And then about 2010, that's when I started thinking about this IDE. And
yes, Plone IDE. Yes.
Yeah, and that was the spark that ended up here.
That's right. When Mentes contacted you, then were you hired on? Had you finished university yet?
No, that's one of the problems we have around here. People usually take jobs before finishing college, and that actually made me delay finishing college. And I think I finished it. When was it? Because I back then, when I was working in Mentes, I was able to work 4 hours and then the other 4 hours study. And I don't remember when was that I finished it, but it was pretty recent. It was 2014 or something.
Yeah.
Because I abandoned the college. I then, like 4 or 5 years later, I said, come on, it's like have 3 or 5, I don't remember, courses left. And I went back, but then I was working full time instead of 4 hours. So it's,
Yeah, it's much harder to go back and even to finish
Yeah.
something that close.
Yeah.
Was it?
But on this, that's a bit of a problem in this in computer science, because you don't really need a degree like the signed paper to work for a company. So there are a lot of people, really, really smart people that really, that you read their code and your mind just blows up,
Mhm.
and you ask them, did you study, what did you do, and they're like, no, I just read some books and read this on the internet. They don't even went to college, and they're amazing people. They're super smart, and it's not the common case, but that happens. But something like that doesn't happen at all. It cannot happen at all with engineers, or I don't know, medical school, or
Well, I
any
hope not.
other. You don't know. You,
Yeah,
you wish you don't
surgeon,
find out.
surgeon on the operating table is about to. So, where'd you go to medical school? What? I
Yeah.
just read some books.
Medical what? Yeah, that's a very good thing for us, but also it's a very, very bad thing. There's yeah.
What are some of the
I
disadvantages you think?
when you develop a software that, I don't know, that either a web framework, like you develop Plone or something like that, it's not very critical if you don't have the knowledge and you develop something that breaks. Is Well, maybe you're going to get fired. That's it. But if you're behind a project that involves safety on people, um, you should be properly prepared for that. And of course there are some how to say this in English, but checks from the government, or standards, or whatever that needs to be, if you're working on those areas. It should be that the people have certain certifications and stuff like that. But in the real world, I don't know how hard those conditions are enforced, and maybe it could happen that you don't have the due knowledge, and end up working on an area that you shouldn't be. I don't know.
Well,
I,
that's
I,
true. And I can tell you that in Canada, in Ontario, if you want to call yourself an engineer, you're legally not allowed to unless you have the certification, the professional engineering certification. And you can only get that if you either went to a university that has an approved engineering degree, or if you've proven that you've worked in the field for a certain number of years and you've acquired experience in that particular domain, and then you can get that certification. So if I were to call myself an engineer in Ontario or in Canada, and somebody looked at me and said, "Where's your certification?" I have the degree, but I don't have the certification, so I'm not allowed to. So I think you can sort of protect it in that way, but you're right. In software, it's such a wide-ranging field. Do you say, okay, web software, does it require certification? Well, does nuclear control systems require certification? I hope so.
Well, yeah, I don't know. And then there's the money issue. A company could find it very, very cheap to hire people without those certificates and mask it somehow. And yeah, I mean, that's a problem that could happen on any field, actually.
Mhm.
People doing unlawful things and maybe getting caught, maybe not. To me, it was a problem because I didn't have the enough motivation to finish what I started. And down here, college is free, so that doesn't have on me the burden on saying, I'm paying for this, I need to finish it. Or if I don't finish it, I lose my progress, and I lost my money and wherever I reached. And so it's a problem where there are students that are going into college like 10, 12, 15 years, and they're like just doing the same courses all over again. And that's a problem for other students that may want to get in and don't have a seat because it's full. But on the other hand, if you put money in the middle, then there are people that maybe don't have the money but are very smart. It's a really complex problem. I don't have the definitive answer. But yeah, it would be nice that you either say, okay, I'm gonna do it and do it fully, or that's fine, I'm doing it some other way.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, because here in the United States, nobody really seriously considers college being free to be a realistic proposal, unfortunately. So that sort of problem is not something that people talk about here, because it just doesn't come up. But right. I've heard that said about France, that because a lot of university education can be free, unless you go to certain elite schools, then the places are taken up by people who aren't necessarily motivated to finish. Did you take a computer science degree then?
Yes, my actual title is computer analyst.
Oh, okay.
That's the proper title. I'm not an engineer.
Did you, when you were a kid, were you playing with, how did you even get interested in programming then?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, when I was a kid, I was tinkering all the time with all my toys. My parents went nuts because I will tear them apart and most of the time just break them. But that I found out really down the road that was actually a very good thing, being able to investigate how things worked, how something is built inside. It's a very, very amazing thing for someone. I don't know, someone like me. I grew up watching MacGyver, for instance, shows like that. So, and I went to a school that actually has a humanism direction. My title in high school is a humanist. I'm a humanist, and actually it's quite amazing. It's a school that was founded in 1687, I think it was.
Whoa.
Yeah. I got programming classes in the last 2 years, I think, and I learned to program very basic. This was in QBasic, I think it was.
QBasic,
Yeah.
What sort of computers?
I think it was 486, maybe.
Okay.
I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, I was very interested in computers back then. I was actually at some point, on some occasions, actually correcting the professor in something he was saying. So yeah, I was quite interested in computers. And after school, I started doing aeronautics engineering because I loved planes. I wanted to be a pilot, and it was super expensive, and my family couldn't afford it. So I thought on going into that direction and eventually being around planes and eventually becoming a pilot somehow. But yeah, after 2 years, I realized this is not what I wanted to do. I don't want to design planes. I want to fly them. So I decided to go do something else, and I met a friend of an old girlfriend I had at the time, and we started speaking, and he told me what they were doing at that college. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That really, it's something I want to do. And I changed majors, and I went to this other college. Yeah, I would say since I was about 10, I'm 35 now, so it's most of my life behind a screen.
Yes, can't we all say that? Mm-hmm. But that's great. I was going to ask you about that because you mentioned the airplanes. And when you were here in Oshkosh in 2013, yes, it was 2013 for the symposium here, you had started teasing me because you were saying we should change the date, make it later in the year. Because I think it was like May when we did the Plone Symposium in 13 and 14. And you were saying, well, can you make it closer to the Oshkosh Air Venture, the fly-in, the EAA fly-in, which is the last week of July? And I said, unfortunately, we couldn't. But did you get to EAA? You haven't been to EAA yet.
No, I never went to it. I did go to the museum.
I remember that.
Yeah. But I didn't go to the actual event. That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
So, I've met people at the airport here in Oshkosh who flew in. One guy in particular flew here from Singapore so that he could pick up a kit plane and take it home with him. So people come here from farther away than Argentina. Yeah, you could do that. And you have a plane now, do you?
I don't have it. That's super expensive to have a plane. I do have a license. I started classes, I think it was 2016 or so. I decided, come on, I want to be a pilot. Let's do this. And it took me about a year and a half or so, and I got it. I am a private pilot.
Wow.
I already have about 50 hours of flying, so very, very novice. But yeah, that's
how often do you get up in a plane?
I used to be. I used to go to the field about twice a month before COVID.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been March 2019. 2020 was when things closed down here. And I haven't been flying since November 2019.
Oh.
So it's going to be about 2 years that I am not flying.
Well, maybe you need to get your own plane. You could come up here.
I should do what's the name in English where you ask people money?
Oh, the fundraiser.
The fundraiser.
Yeah.
I should do a fundraiser.
Well, we did do one for you, didn't we? Yes. So I'm back in my story. Yes. Yeah, all right. Well, okay. I'll just give the shortened version. The way I met Franco is that he had come up with that brilliant idea of the Plone IDE, the Plone integrated development environment inside Plone that would let you change things, like change files and change code for Plone inside of Plone, which was totally mind-blowing, right? So you talk about mind-blowing code. That was mind-blowing.
That was great, yeah.
And then
great idea.
Yeah, it was, yes, if you say so yourself. And because of that, the Plone community said, who the heck is this guy? He's got to come to the Plone conference in San Francisco. And so we did a fundraiser for you, and we got, I think it took only a couple of days really for you to get that money.
It took a day and a half, $1,200. Yeah.
And then you made it. It was fantastic. That was very heartwarming to see people come together like that.
Yeah, that's a really amazing story of the. It tells, it paints the picture of what the Plone community is, which is a really amazing group of people, and it was amazing. Back then, I wasn't earning that much money. Actually, it would have taken me like 5 months just to get the, assuming I don't make any expenses, to just pay the plane ticket.
Wow.
So it was completely out of the picture. And then I don't remember who was it that told me, dude, just make a fundraiser. I was like, I don't think anyone is going to give me money. They don't know who I am. And it took, a day and a half for people to raise that money. And then I had to run through to the different government agencies down here to get my passport, because I didn't have one since I wasn't flying outside the country. I didn't have a US visa. So I had to do all of that in, I think, 1 month. And then I ended up staying at the hotel with Nathan, because I had the money for the ticket, but I didn't have money for a hotel over there. So I remember, I don't know, I don't exactly remember how, but Nathan at some point told me, look, my company is paying for a bedroom, and it has 2 beds, and I'm only using one.
Okay, so Nathan, you're in trouble now, because I knew about that because we were at the university together. And so, their university was paying for each of us to have a room on our own.
Right.
Actually, no, I shared with John Wren. You might remember John Wren.
No.
He was my colleague there. But anyway, so Nathan didn't have a roommate. So it was cool that it could work out.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I went to the conference, and that was the total night and day for me, going to that conference, meeting the people, and getting in touch. And when I went back, I quit my job and started doing consultancy, freelancer. And I have done that since then.
Wow. Much. So it's our fault that you quit Mentis?
Yes.
Oops. Oh, no. Wow. I had no idea.
I wouldn't say your fault. I would say like a shared guilt or something. But
yes. Okay. Shared guilt. I like that idea. It's like there's a reason why we're the Plone communities, because no one can talk about these things.
All right. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and since then I was able to start going into every Plone conference afterwards. I think I missed the only one that I missed was Tokyo. I don't know if I missed any other.
Okay, so 2013. Then there's Bristol, and then there was Bucharest.
I was in Bucharest.
And then there was Boston.
I was in Boston.
Then Barcelona.
I was in Barcelona.
Okay, and then Tokyo and the Ferrara.
I was in Ferrara as well. Yeah.
Oh, good, right. And so you're of an Italian ancestry, right?
Yes.
And was it your grandfather and grandmother?
My grandfather. My grandfather came after the war, and he made his life here. Actually, he didn't want to even go back to Italy. He didn't. He was like, I am done. And I have the citizenship, and I would like to be closer to where things happen. I mean, the reason I missed most of the events, sprints, and whatnot is because it's so expensive, and it doesn't make sense to go to a sprint of 2-3 days.
Right.
And I have to plan, like you said before, I have to plan like a 2-week vacation and have the sprint in there and make it worth the travel. So it's not that easy. But if I were living over there, I can just take a train, which I really, really love taking the train. That's one of the things we don't have around here that I really loved when I went there. Not there where you are, but there in Europe.
Oh, we have trains here.
You do.
Not very fast ones.
My most of my train experience was in Europe.
Oh yeah.
And that's traveling by train is amazing.
Oh,
that's one of the other things I hate of airplanes. All of the security screening and whatnot, and the time you have to spend there. When you travel by train, it's the train leaves at 1 p.m., you're there at 1 minus 5 minutes and get in the train and you go. And I don't know. It's a really nice scenery out
It's
the window.
wonderful. Yeah,
I like it. So yeah, if I would be living somewhere near there, I'll be able to get into more sprints and events, and it's one of the things I'm trying my family to come on board and go across the pond.
All right. I wanted to ask you also, just maybe the last thing here is, you've been working with Alan Runyon at Enfold.
Yes.
And you've been working with him for quite some time. I think people in the Plone community would like to hear a little bit more what it's like to work at Enfold, because Alan he shows up, he's like this flurry of activity. It's like his brain is operating at 10 times normal speed, and then he disappears and you never hear about him again. So like, you're like the face of Enfold systems. And for people who don't know this, and I hope you know this, Alan Runyon is one of the two co-founders of Plone with Alex Leamy. So tell us what it's like to work with Alan at Enfold.
It's quite an experience because, as you said, his brain works at, I don't know if 10 times, maybe 20 times faster than normal humans, and he remembers everything. Like, I don't know, we're working on some project, and then he goes like, oh, but I remember that on this version of this package, there was this implementation being done by this guy, and it was like doing this and that, and then they changed it. And I'm like, what's my name? I have no idea what you're speaking about. And he even remembers stuff that I implemented that I didn't remember I implemented. So yeah, it's quite an experience. Alan is an amazing guy. He has taken me into his house several times. I've been in Houston, and he took me to the NASA headquarters, and he introduced me to his family, and he's really an amazing person. And not very surprising, he's the co-founder of Plone and one of the sparks that initiated the whole thing. And working on Enfold, I don't know. It's I think it is like working pretty much anywhere else. One tends to think that places, I don't know, if you think, I don't know, someone working at Google or Facebook or any of these companies, you kind of have these ideas that they must be doing this and that. And sometimes when you talk to people, they're like, it's just a normal company and we do stuff. And Enfold, in my experience, is pretty much the same thing. We're a small group of people, and we grind through the day.
Oh boy.
I mean,
okay, not really what I thought.
No, I mean, we work with very, very interesting customers and really big projects, but sometimes when these projects, and you must know this from 6 Feet Up, I guess the same thing happens when projects grow so much. There's not much innovation you can do, and when the customer is huge, you have all this bureaucracy and stuff for changing just a minor thing that usually it ends up being a normal stuff that, there's a request for implementing this new feature. We go through the designing, architecturing the solution or whatever, and estimate how much it's going to take. Customer decides if they want to do it, and we implement it. And it's a very nice group of people. I don't know what were you expecting, I would say.
Well, I'm not sure. I guess I don't really know what it would be like to work at Enfold. That's why I was kind of asking. But then how would you know what's different? Because you've only worked at Mentes and then you went freelance, right?
So yeah, I went freelance working for one company. Well, actually, it wasn't a company. Yeah, it was. I guess it was a company. But after what was this? Yeah, 3-4 years maybe. I no longer worked with them and started working with Alan. And in the middle, I worked with a guy that Miko gave to me. Now he was a very very nice guy from Sweden. They worked on application built on Plone for I think it was medical, some for hospitals. I worked for a short time, a couple of months, but he was a nice guy. And then I got contacted by Alan at some point, or no, actually I asked him if he needed time because I was thinking of leaving the other guy, and we started talking. I started as a freelance, and then I eventually ended up being like full time with him. Yeah, it's been 2016, I think. It's been 5 years now. Yeah, it's 5 or 6 years.
So was that before? So that was before the conference in Boston that you decided to start working with him?
I believe yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, the last time I saw Alan in person was, well, actually at all, was in Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was there, and there was a board dinner. It was a weird adventure because we asked the really nice team at in Tokyo to suggest a restaurant for us, and so they suggested a restaurant. And we make our way, and we go there, and like, my gosh, there's no signage in English, which I guess you'd expect in Tokyo. Which okay, but then we get in there and nobody speaks any English. It was like and so we're looking through the menu trying to figure out how do we order, what do we order, and we're like holding up our phones to try to use the Google Translate thing to like convert it. And like, okay. And then the wait staff shows up. They have a phone. They pick phrases in Japanese and it comes out in English. And then we're like, what the heck? So anyway, Alan was there. That was a lot of fun. And then in the end, actually, just to finish that story, Alexander Local had to call his wife, who's Japanese, back in Germany and give the phone to the wait staff so they could order for us.
Was that the same restaurant with the karaoke?
No, the karaoke was a different. Yeah, yes, which I wasn't there, unfortunately. Although I hear karaoke nights can get violent because people don't like the way you sing "I Did It My Way" or something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe that's the Philippines.
That's you spoke about that with Philip, I believe, right?
Yes, I heard about that. That was quite a crazy night. I'm sad I missed that.
There are so many crazy nights at Plone Conference. I think my best story that I was lucky to be in person when it happened was the story with the katana. That was one of the craziest.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So that night it was on Arnhem, and we went out. It was Miko. It was I think it was Liz Letty was there. It was Dylan. I think it was Dylan J as well.
Wow.
And maybe someone else. I don't remember. And we ended up in this bar. Of course, drinking beer. And at some point, the guy told, no, actually, they were playing bingo, and we were like looking at them having so much fun, and then we decided to participate in the bingo, and the prizes there were these really random and weird things that I don't know where they came from. I won a drinking game that was like tic-tac-toe, but with shot glasses, and it was rated ages. I think it was 12 and up. that was one of the things that was kind of funny. Also, I won a weird record, a vinyl record. I don't remember the band. Liz, she won a cash register, but a huge, really, really heavy cash register made out of wood. And it was like she was holding that thing, like it was really, really big. It was big cash register. And Miko won a katana. So we were walking the streets of Arnhem with blading a katana, kind of drunk. So yeah, luckily we didn't cross any police officer or anything like that. But the other day, that's when the story gets funnier, because Miko went to the airport with the katana, intending to get into a plane with it. And the person in the counter was like, how did you end up with this, and why are you bringing it here? And he tells the story marvelously in the mailing list. You can look it up. It's on the archives. I think it's Rare Imports or something like that, the subject, because that's the name of a movie in Finland. And he got into this situation with the airport security, where they came and he was expecting to put the katana in the cargo of the plane. But the problem was that he walked through the streets to get to the airport with a weapon, basically. And so it was a big mess. He lost his flight. It was amazing. It was really, really funny story, and a really funny thread to read on the Plone archives. Yeah.
And the happy ending, of course, is that Miko did not get arrested. He did not go to jail. He's still a free man.
Yeah.
As far as I know, free of a criminal record. As far as I know. Well, thank you so much for spending all this time with me, and for sharing your story and your background. And I'm glad that you could shed light on what it's been like to live in Argentina and to work at Unfold. And
thank you very much for having me. It was nice to see you.
And it's very nice to see you too.